post-conference with Miss Jennifer Andes. I observed you on October 14th at 9, and that was with your How Do Our Senses and Perception Affect and our behavior and our mental processes.
Can you close the door? Lola, close the door for me.
Okay. So as I said, I loved the class. I thought it was just very engaging, and it was obvious that you really have built a good culture with your kids in your class, and they feel safe with you. You do. They have a lot of fun with you. So you were using a timer. Even though there were Wi-Fi issues, kids knew they could jump on their phone, they could jump on a computer with somebody else. They were taking a pre-assessment about behaviors and perceptions. You had power notes on your smartboard and Chromebooks. It was all uploaded to Schoology. Table groups were about 4 students to each table group. One of the things I was saying is students could work with a partner who had access and use their phones, which eventually a lot of the kids just naturally did anyway.
Right.
Use of a timer. They knew to complete the activator, and as soon as they arrived and they started logging in, like they knew exactly what was expected of them, so you have a good classroom routine. I would say make sure the activator question is also on the board for those who were having the Wi-Fi issues and couldn't log in to Schoology, so they could see it. They expressed concern that they didn't know the material. They were worried the assessment was going to be graded, and you assured them that it was not, and that you were just checking their current perceptions and awarenesses about their 5 senses. You had great posters displayed throughout your room and great reading strategies. You know, this isn't a reading class, but you had that in your content, and you make that available to the kids. Accommodations for students needing help with reading the article could be set up on Schoology. Like are they set up to like speech to text or text to speech if they
I don't know
need
how to
it?
do that.
Okay, so that might be an option if you have kids who are having trouble accessing the text or have trouble with fluency. You know, they're working so hard to decode that they can't get things done in the time that you're setting up. You could also set them up with a partner that could read with them if they're comfortable with that. Some high school kids are and some high school kids aren't, as you know. Review any you did review new vocabulary. You had on the board, and you also they had access to the notes in their Schoology document. Be sure that students cite where they're getting their textual evidence from. So make sure that they're citing in their final written responses. You know, and we know they know how to do that because they just did senior project. You provided access to PowerPoint notes again in the activator, and it was all higher order thinking, which was awesome. You have an exit ticket that day. I can't remember if you did.
But
was
you
it
were
3-2-1?
It actually is turn to your shoulder partner and go through everything that you've learned for the day. So it's sometimes we write exit tickets down, sometimes we verbal.
Right,
and
like an out the door.
If I remember on that day, like it depends on where we end. So if I look at we have 2 minutes, it's a shoulder partner.
Right.
But if we have 4 minutes or more, then I do the 3-2-1, or I do I'll put a question on the board and they have to answer it.
That's good. That's good. And that's what I had suggested was a 3-2-1. So one of a couple of the strategies that I was going to recommend to you, this was a cool one that I've learned through my class, and it's called passing notes. I've actually tried it with my elementary kids, and they like it because they like to pass notes.
Right.
So the idea behind it is that you put a passage on the board. And it could be a passage from something they've read that day. And it's really about them interpreting, like, what is that passage saying to you? What do you think the author means by this? And this is good in the beginning of the class, or it can be also good at the end of the class after they've read the passage.
That would be good.
Yeah, passing notes. And so it can be an open-ended question where they do, you know, an open-ended response based on what they read, or it can be teacher-directed, meaning that you provide a question, a quote, and a choice of answers.
Okay.
So basically the way it works is you give them all something, you give it to them on a sheet of paper. They have the passage on the paper, and it's also displayed on the board, and there's room for them to respond.
They respond.
And then I'll leave all of this, I'll leave all these instructions with you and some examples. So, and then they get to write what they're interpreting about the passage.
And then they,
And yeah, you collect them. I did it both ways. I did it where they got to pass, but I found it was better if I collected them and repassed them, because that took a long time to decide. I want my friend to have, and I want her to have, and I want them, you know, so I
I
just
would just send
repassed them.
those to you, right?
Yeah, yeah. And when my basic rule is you just can't have your own. You know, you may have to pass them more than one time. So then that next person reads their response.
And then responds.
They respond, like, yes, I agree, or, oh, I didn't see it that way. That makes me
That would
think.
actually work very well with
Yeah.
social psych.
And that's what I was thinking. That would be a really good one for you. So here's a couple of examples that the teacher used online.
Okay.
Okay, and then I just printed out these several different options of pre, during, and post-reading strategies that I got as a resource during my classes. So, you know, there's activators, there's QAR, there's KWLs.
Oh, yeah.
One of the ones that we are trying is called VIP, Very Important Points.
Oh, I like
And
that.
that's where they use sticky notes
Right.
and, you know, put sticky notes on different things, and they can ask questions like, I wonder why, or, you know, something of that nature. There's story mapping,
I've
but
done all those.
there's a whole
Yeah.
list of strategies for you.
Thank you.
How did you feel about the lesson? How did you think it went? And there's a copy of the observations.
I always reflect on how we could do it better.
Yeah.
But that particular class is a great group of kids.
They are.
And so, so
I was thinking, especially for seniors that early in the morning, they
Yeah,
were
they-
very engaged, and you got them up and got them moving, which was a
well,
good thing.
and that's the culture you kind of create is
Mhm.
that you, every day they comment on we're doing stuff, we're not sitting still,
Mhm.
and if we do have a day when we sit still, it's like, what's wrong? Are you
We in
okay?
trouble? Yeah.
So, it's funny because it's like, that's a normal day.
Mhm.
It doesn't stand out like good or bad. That's
Right.
what we do every day.
And I could tell that. I could tell that this was a normal flow. It wasn't something you had just done for me. Evie even had a couple students that came in late, and they still knew what to do. They got right in, sat down, got to work, didn't, you know, kind of sit around a little bit, wondered, well, wait till she says something, you know. They
No,
did come
it's-
right in and start working.
It's funny because sometimes I think we forget, or I forget,
Mhm.
how much, I just always am like, well, how can we do it better? How can we do it better? So,
Right.
But
Mhm.
on that, like the pre-assessments, I've done it multiple ways.
Mhm.
I've had it where it's PowerPoint, and I do Google Forms now, and that works. I'm finding there's pros and cons to both.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
trying to find the happy medium, because the whole idea of the pre-assessment is to introduce vocabulary so it's not so scary.
Mhm.
And if we can introduce the vocab so it's not so scary, then when I actually teach it,
Mhm.
they've already heard it. So
Yes.
repetition, so it's not scary, so then they're more likely to
Right.
absorb it rather than
Mhm.
put their brakes on.
Right, and just tune out. And that's good universally, and especially for your kids who have the comprehension problems that they need that pre-teaching. Yes. Jen, thank you so much. Thanks for letting me come in and observe. I appreciate it. Thank you.